everyone, to a special episode of The Buck Stops Here, and I'm Kirk Buchner. I run NotInHallOfFame.com and a bunch of other things: the Fictitious Athlete Hall of Fame, the Fictitious Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and the United States Athletics Hall of Fame. Big news coming in about a month. Part of that process actually involves my co-host today, Chris Mouradian, who is now one of the voters for that. How you doing, Chris?
Good, Kirk. How you doing?
Very, very well. And this is the second time you brought me a special guest. We are going to the cornfields. We are going to Iowa. We are talking to the voice of the Iowa Cubs. Alex Cohen, how are you?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. I am honored that you're a part of this, that you're part of this show that we're doing, especially after looking at your website. And oh my God, how do you have time to actually talk to me?
It's you caught us after a day game with the I Cubs. So no, as Chris knows, I've known Chris for a long time. When I was in the Midwest League, I enjoy talking baseball. So any opportunity to do that, I'm happy to sit down and chat with you.
Well, so before we sort of like go into baseball, what I'd like to know is you're actually doing my dream. I didn't have, and I'll just say the cojones to go into broadcasting. I'd like to think of maybe I have the voice, maybe the personality, not the face, but whatever, that's okay. Uh, but you're following your dream or my dream and your dream, I'm sure too.
Yeah,
At,
absolutely.
at
Yeah.
what point did I guess young Alex say, I want to be in broadcasting, and what's the path to get you here to Des Moines?
Yeah. I think what the time period that I realized that it would be behind the microphone and not playing is when I was 16, 17 years old, and my fastball was 83 miles per hour and really flat. And normally those get hit very far. So I realized that I wasn't going to be playing baseball. And, the second best thing to playing baseball would be calling baseball. So, started from a young age. And then, I went to college, went to Indiana University, did student radio, basically called any sport I possibly could, hockey, basketball, field hockey, lacrosse, tennis, golf. But yeah, I was able to call some baseball games and then started interning with minor league baseball teams. Lehigh Valley Iron Picks, AAA affiliate for the Philadelphia Phillies for 2 years, and then kind of started from the bottom up. Took a job in independent ball with the Gateway Grizzlies 2011, 2 years in AA with the Milwaukee Brewers AA affiliate, the Huntsville Stars in Huntsville, Alabama. Then 1 year a pivot in the media relations department for the Oakland Athletics. Then I realized I talk way too much to be, just typing up game notes and not, in front of a microphone. So went to Australia and called Australian Baseball League games for a year. Then started at the rookie ball level with the Idaho Falls Chuckers, rookie league affiliate for the Kansas City Royals. Then 2 years with the Bowling Green Hot Rods, the single A affiliate for the Tampa Bay Rays, where I met Chris and that great hat. Gosh, I love the Hot Rods. They were awesome. But then, 6 years with the Iowa Cubs. So it's been a non-linear but yet fun path.
So Chris tells me that you didn't grow up a Cubs fan, so you grew up a Phillies fan. Is that correct?
Yeah, grew up in Philadelphia, so grew up, all the four sports for the Phillies, Flyers, Sixers, Eagles, and Phillies, and grew up, listening to Harry Kalas, and that's kind of what got me in love with, listening to baseball games, closing my eyes and hearing a voice that is saturated in whiskey and cigar smoke, and it just kind of screams baseball. So, but yeah, I mean, now I haven't really watched that much Phillies baseball over the last 15 years because I've been working. So I really root for any of the teams that sign my paychecks and the guys that I see, coming up through their respective organizations. When I was with Bowling Green, I was a Rays fan. With the Iowa Cubs, I'm now a Cubs fan. The one fan for a team that I really stick with, I'm still a diehard Eagle fan. So that's really what it sticks with me for.
Nice. Uh, as I was going through your own website, if you want to plug that, please do.
Yeah, it's at voiceofcohen.com.
Yeah.
It was a website that I created 3 years ago with the help of my wife. She actually got me the URL and the domain name for a Christmas gift, and it's been a really nice Christmas gift that she gave me. So I upload all of the clips, spring training, all the various college sports that I do, and then Iowa Cup stuff. So it's awesome.
As a broadcaster, because you've been with Iowa, as you said, for 6 years, what I always find fascinating is when you're sort of like talking to players, you obviously developing an affinity for some, an affinity for maybe none. I don't want to sort of like go anywhere where I shouldn't, but when I'm watching baseball, and like I grew up in Toronto, so like I grew up with Buck Martinez, who's still there.
Got it.
Yeah, Buck Martinez once said that the greatest compliment he ever got is when people asked him, "Oh, you actually played?"
Hmm.
When they have no idea. And when
Yeah.
I listen to Buck, and you don't know whether he's actually a fan necessarily of player X,
Yeah.
how do you find that, or like, is it easy or is it hard for you to sort of like separate people that you've come to sort of like on a personal level
Yeah.
and not let that show when you're broadcasting and be impartial? Is that hard
Yeah.
or?
I mean, it is, but I think with minor league baseball, you lean more towards the pro and the positive because just in general, you're trying to drive people down to the ballpark and they want to see exciting things. So I think in minor league baseball, it's naturally more of a positive tone broadcast. But yeah, I mean, if a guy is 0 for 12 with 12 punch outs, over a stretch of 4 games, I mean, I can like him. He can be the best person in the world, but he's still 0 for 12 with 12 punch outs. So I try to make it as objective, and I won't necessarily say stat based because I wouldn't consider myself a big stat guy. But if you're playing well, I'm going to talk about you playing well. If you're playing poorly, I'll try to analyze why you're playing poorly and what you could do. Talking with analysts and talking with scouts, talking with coaches in order for that player to reach their full potential. So a positive spin if they are playing poorly, but still going to talk about the stats. You're 3 for 12 with a couple bombs. I'm going to say it. You're 1 for 12 with a bunch of strikeouts. I'm going to say it.
Yeah. Do you do your broadcast solo, or are you paired up with?
So I've been paired up before. We had a broadcaster here, Dean Ellis, who had been here for 30 years. After COVID, he decided to spend time with his family. He's got 15 grandkids, and he's the world's best father and grandfather. So naturally, he wanted to spend more time with them. We do 150 games here. I probably do 135 solo, and then 15, with select analysts that either come from Marquee Sports Network or some people in our creative staffs.
Okay. Another thing that I'm sort of like curious about, obviously being in Iowa, how quick did you get to the Field of Dreams place?
So I got there the first time that my parents came to visit. So my family still lives
Mhm.
in Philadelphia. And the first time they came out to visit, we took them out to Dyersville, and then got to see it. I've actually been to Dyersville 3 times. Went there for the Cubs Reds Field of Dreams game, which
I
is
asked if you were there for that. Yeah.
it was awesome. It is one of the top 3 things I've ever experienced from a baseball perspective in my life, and it probably ain't number 3. I mean, it was really cool. So, yeah, I think it was a year after I moved, something like that.
Mhm. Another interesting thing that I really found when going through your bio, and I never think about this, and just full disclosure, I'm from Canada. So my thought process in terms of politics is a little bit different than yours. Uh,
Yeah.
so going through your bio, and then I think of like, oh my God, the caucus, that's right, because you do things differently in the United States, although
Yes.
now I'm in the US. So you had the pleasure of was it broadcasting? I couldn't really tell with Joe Biden, Pete Buttigieg, and Beto O'Rourke, which the last one is
Yeah.
fascinating.
So
I didn't think Beto
they
made
were
it to Iowa.
They did. Yeah, they all caucused in Iowa, and they were, basically touring all the Iowa destinations. They were at the Iowa State Fair. They came in for July 4th, and I was able to talk to President Biden and Beto O'Rourke during that July 4th game because we have a ceremony here at the ballpark that basically anoints people U.S. citizens. So they go through the
Okay,
process, and they are
nice.
named U.S. citizens on the field prior to our July 4th game. It's really neat. So yeah, Beto O'Rourke came up in the 4th inning, and President Biden came up in the 7th inning. So yes, it was
In the
it was
same
during
game.
a game. So yeah, same game. It was 14,000 people at the ballpark. It was our largest crowd that I've had here in 6 years. And then 2 presidential candidates, one who became the president, came up on the broadcast. So it was a lot.
Mayor Pete was in the same game.
Mayor Pete was later in the year. Mayor Pete was in August.
Okay. Uh, I'm so curious here. When they say that, okay, did you broadcast like an inning with Biden
Oh,
or?
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So President Biden came on in the 7th inning, and
Okay.
Beto came on in the 3rd or 4th inning.
All
Yeah.
right. So before that, and I've got my own little memories as a kid here. I'm probably a few years older, just which is depressing. Uh, Remembering Ronald Reagan call an inning on the All-Star
Yeah.
game in the 80s. And I have to wonder, so like, you know that you're going to be doing this before with like, I guess obviously their staff, their people set this all up.
Oh yeah.
What's the, is there anxiety? Is there sort of like a, is there like different staff like coming up here to you and just saying like, you got to do this, 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 and this?
No, they were actually great. I mean, obviously we had a packed booth because it was, all of the press corps, publicity staff, and then Secret Service. But I keep it really easy. I want to talk baseball.
Mhm.
I don't care what, political affiliation you are. I want to talk about your first baseball memory, your favorite ballpark food, what you love about being at the ballpark, what you enjoy about Iowa. I keep the baseball broadcast baseball.
Did all three of them sort of like hit a home run out of the park for that?
No, they were great. They were great. No, it was I mean, Mayor Pete has a very interesting relationship with baseball. I mean, it's a great relationship with baseball, obviously being in South Bend, and the South Bend Cubs are there. So there is that link between the Cubs organization. And then Mayor Pete and his husband, their first date was at a South Bend Cubs game. So
Oh,
baseball is pretty
oh wow.
intimately involved in their relationship.
Mhm.
Um, and then talking with President Biden was a lot of fun because I'm from Philadelphia. Obviously, the first lady is from Willow Grove, which is, I don't know, 15 minutes from where I grew up. So she also grew up a Phillies fan. So we were able to kind of unite and joke about that. And then Beto's from Texas, so we just talked about Texas baseball and Texas sports. He's probably the biggest sports fan out of the three, so we had a lot to talk about.
Nice. Yeah, that's kind of where I was going to go with that, is like who sort of like connected the most in terms of sports fandom.
Definitely Beto.
Right? Okay.
Definitely Beto, and just like all around sports. Really cool about talking South Bend Cubs with Mayor Pete, and then President Biden. We talked about Philly sports and who he grew up watching, and he watched the Phillies and the Yankees. So just talking about players in his generation. So I
Yeah.
would say current scope of sports. Beto was great.
Mhm. Now, in terms of like with Iowa, like describe for people who are not familiar with Iowa, and all of it. I've never been through Iowa. I've certainly been familiar with like the Iowa Cubs on the back of baseball cards for my entire life,
Yeah.
and just sort of like understanding that. Uh, I would imagine, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is Iowa completely Cubs country, or has the White Sox, or maybe Chris's Brewers to a certain point leaked down?
um, I would say 70% of the fans in Iowa are Cubs fans.
Mhm.
You'll get some Twins fans because Minneapolis isn't terribly far away.
Okay.
We're 3.5 hours from the Minneapolis, Twin Cities, St. Paul area. So you'll get some Twins fans. You'll get a couple Royals fans because we're 2.5 hours from Kansas City. More Chiefs fans because there's not an NFL team. And then you'll get some Brewers fans. You're not terribly far from the Wisconsin border here. Same with Minnesota. Not many White Sox fans. And then you'll get some Braves fans just because of TBS. And the fans were able to watch that
Oh,
growing up. The
okay.
Braves were on TBS a lot. So I would say it's 75% Cubs fans. And then, I forgot, you'll occasionally get the Cardinals fan too. Cardinals fans are part of it.
So it's that much. So the White Sox have little to no presence in Iowa.
I would say they are the fifth biggest fan base in baseball, maybe sixth. Yeah,
I wouldn't have known that.
learn
What?
something new every day.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. As my wife will tell you, I forget two things every day.
Exactly. Yeah. Learn. Yeah, forget two, learn one. It's like you gotta go forward before you go backwards. So.
Absolutely. Are you looking forward to possibly sort of like broadcasting for the Cubs or another major league team, maybe back in Philadelphia?
Yeah, I mean, the goal is obviously to make it to the big leagues. I mean, as Chris, he's been listening to me for the last 5 or 6 years. I worked for a Rays affiliate, worked for a Cubs affiliate, I worked for a Royals affiliate, I worked for a Brewers affiliate. So, I would love to get to the big leagues. There's a lot of teams out there, and yeah, that's definitely the dream.
One thing that also too, I kind of did this in reverse order, and I apologize. Another thing that blew me away when I'm looking at your bio, where you're sort of like you're acting almost as the traveling secretary. That
Do a
blows
little bit of
my
everything.
mind that you're
Yeah, I do a little bit
doing
of
all
everything.
of this broadcasting and then after that, then okay, then I've got to like take care of their travel.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I mean that's the way it works there in minor league baseball. So when
I didn't know that.
you're the only staff member that travels with the team. I mean, there's not like media relations staff doesn't travel with the team during in minor league baseball or on buses or on really not great plane rides and trips. But it's really just me. So you got to have somebody who has boots on the ground to help with flight changes, flight cancellations, buses, rooming lists. So yeah, I have a lot of spreadsheets on my computer. Not that I thought that I would ever really do that when I was coming up through school, but yeah, I mean, wear a lot of different hats. So it's traveling secretary. I also do sales,
I saw
do some
that.
social media. Yeah, I get to sell
What are
some
you selling?
advertising.
Like
So,
selling like ad spaces
oh yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah. Outfield wall signs, ad spaces on the radio, video board spots, season tickets. Yeah, do a little bit of everything.
Maybe I should ask there. What's a spot there for not in Hall of Fame? I don't know.
If you want to do a radio spot to promote that, I mean, the a la carte price is $3,500 for the entire year for a 30-second spot, but I might know somebody who could give you a deal on it. I'm not sure.
I don't know. That sounds good. Who do you see right now on AAA that you think is going to be the next big star for the Cubs?
That's a really good question. Watching Pete Crow Armstrong play center field for the Iowa Cubs, part of last year and this year, even if Pete Crow Armstrong, if that hit tool doesn't materialize, he's a 2 or 3 WAR player. He is the best defensive outfielder I have ever seen. And I've talked about like 15 years, 1,500 games calling professional baseball. He's spectacular. I just think from a defensive perspective, I remember hearing comps of, Kenny Lofton and Andrew Jones, and you think, no way, he can't be that good. And then you see him, he's like, all right, like he's that good. So I think Pete Crow Armstrong probably fits that mold for me.
As a Jays fan, if you get a Kevin Kiermaier, that's not the worst thing either.
It's not. I mean, Kevin Kiermaier is going to have a decade-long career in the big leagues, and he 80 grade runner, 80 grade fielder, 70 grade arm. I mean, he's got legitimately 3-4 tools because he can hit for power. He hit for 20 home runs last year, and he had like 57 extra base hits. So he's a special talent.
So, Chris and Alex, how did you get to know each other?
Yeah, so actually,
just through. Sorry, Chris, go for it.
Yeah, we actually got to meet each other back in 2017.
Yep.
Alex was working with Bowling Green Hot Rods at the time, which is single A ball. I believe they were low A at the time, and one of the teams in the Midwest League there is Beloit, which is about 75 minutes from my house. So we got to drive down, and this guy was crazy enough to let us sit in the booth with him for an inning or two. And
Nice.
good times. First collected back when Alex was working with the Brewers for the Huntsville Stars.
Right.
I was doing some game summary writing for another website I was connected with, and I was writing up for the Huntsville Stars that listened to all the games, and got to spend a couple of summers listening to Alex call baseball, and knew that this guy knows what he's doing. I could kind of tell that he had something different than a lot of the broadcasters that generally do the minor league games. That you could kind of tell he was there. He knew what he was doing. He had a plan, and could kind of tell he was going to work his way up the ladder there.
And you're an award winner now too.
Yeah, no, Chris, his foreshadowing was right, thankfully. Ballpark Digest 2023 Broadcaster of the Year, and I'm glad that I slipped Venmo requests to the people who were voting. I guess it worked, and but yeah, I mean, it was an incredible honor. And it's funny, Chris, we got to know each other when I was listening for Huntsville, and I've listened back on those tapes, and it was just. That was crazy. I mean, it's crazy listening to myself then and hearing myself now and looking at pictures then. And yeah, I had a lot more hair back then and looked younger and more spry. But no, aside from that, I mean, it's been a heck of a journey. It's been 1,500 games. It's been 13 years, and it's been pretty special.
So the minor league baseball especially, has seen quite a few changes since you came in 2012. What is not necessarily with the game, but with how the players are treated, how the teams are aligned? I mean, now you're doing the 6-game series with typically the Mondays off. How is that kind of, have you seen that help the players, help the teams, help is it really help minor league baseball, or is it just kind
I
of
mean,
still got to work
obviously,
its way through?
losing some of the teams in minor league baseball is tough. I mean, when you go to 120 teams and, some communities are really missing out. I think the 6-game series from a travel perspective are a lot better because you're not getting on as many buses. You're not getting on as many flights. I think having the designated off day on Monday, certainly helps because you're not, flying at 5 o'clock in the morning, landing at 11, checking into the hotel at 12, getting to the ballpark at 2 to play a game at 6. So I think just having some structure to that certainly helps player health, and guys being able to get back on their feet quicker. In terms of the game, I think it's completely shifted. I mean, I was talking about this yesterday with somebody. 2012 when I broke in, you had righties throwing 88 to 92 as starters, and they were considered above average. You had lefties throwing 86 to 88, and they were considered average. Now you look at every team and, they have a fireballer, 98, 99, 100, 101 mile per hour righty in the back end of their bullpen. And when I got into baseball, those were non-existent. I mean, Aroldis Chapman was a unicorn. Now they have one on every team. So I think just in the era of velocity and strength training and weighted balls, I mean, it's completely changed the scope of the game.
But I guess to that point that you're saying that, we've been seeing a lot of pitchers just way more pitchers blow out their arms. And
Yeah.
I guess just as someone who's not completely in tune with what's going on in the minors, maybe with the exception of Buffalo, the Toronto affiliate,
Yeah.
I would imagine that you're seeing that yourself with a lot of the players in the minors in AAA.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I remember seeing when I broke into baseball, like maybe I was the bad lucky charm, but in my 2012 season, I think I saw 4 or 5 people with full blowouts on the mound. It was either 2012 or 2013. So it hasn't been like all now, like this isn't like a recent phenomenon to me, but obviously in the era where it's strength, it's velocity, everything sharp. Like remember, like the elbow, the arm is not supposed to do that. So when you're doing everything like max velocity and max effort, like naturally you're going to have some more injuries. So unless that changes, which I think it won't, you'll see an increase or at least a high level of arm injuries. It's just going to happen that way.
So I'm a collector of baseball cards, autographs, things like that. With all your travels throughout the minor leagues there, you've been able to kind of pick up a few unusual items that you hold on to, or is that kind of off limits being,
No,
kind of
I mean,
employee?
I try not to ask for autographs. Mine's more pregame interviews. Just being able to talk to somebody and have like a personal experience. I remember 2018 being in Colorado Springs and getting to interview Bernie Williams. He was an awesome interview. He was there, talking about his music career. So got to talk to Bernie Williams, conversations that I haven't taped in 2012. Got to meet Ken Griffey Jr., who was like my baseball idol outside of anybody, Philadelphia related. So just sitting in the locker room, being able to talk with Ken Griffey Jr. for an hour, like made my baseball life at the time. And it's still something that I remember pretty frequently. Yeah, I'm not much of a memento guy. I mean, I have a wall of bobbleheads back here. They're not even my bobbleheads, and I really don't have an interest in them. So no, I'm not a big autograph collector, not a big memento collector. Pictures are obviously fun to look at. But mine's more conversations just based on my career and people that I've been able to talk to and learn from.
Who's your goat of broadcasting?
What's that?
Who's your goat of broadcasting in baseball?
Oh.
You look back and you're thinking,
obviously I grew up on Harry Callis from the Phillies. So that's like my personal goat because he's the person who like really got me into wanting to call baseball for a living. But I think being with the Chicago Cubs organization and recognizing how much Pat Hughes means to the Cubs organization and the Chicago Cubs fan base, and still listening to Pat, the Ford Frick Award-winning broadcaster, on big calls. I mean, he called the walk-off home run for Michael Bush a couple days ago. I mean, it was just so top-notch. He's spectacular, and seems to be getting better and better with age. And I just think the whole Cubs broadcast team, just with Pat on radio and Boog, obviously being on TV, he's a national voice. He's somebody who makes it fun. Like it's Boog's style of broadcasting. Like having fun, not taking yourself too seriously, but also giving the proper respect to the game and the players. Like his style of broadcasting is something that I want to do and emulate. So I just think the Cubs broadcast team with Pat Hughes on radio and Boog Shambi on TV is probably the standard for me right now.
So still learning something every day, like as you were sort of like mentioning.
Every day, every inning.
Yeah.
Every time I listen to a broadcast. And I was telling somebody this the other day. I mean, I listen to A-ball broadcasters who I learn something from every day, and I listen to big league broadcasts on stuff not to do every day. So it's not really based on the level. It's based on feel and something that I pick up. And I mean, there's some broadcasters in single A that are tremendous, and there's some broadcasters in the big leagues that our styles just don't jive. So it's not that I just listen to the big league broadcasters. I listen to broadcasts of all levels.
Mm-hmm. Is there a
last one for me over here?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, just wanted last one. So being a Philadelphia fan, got a couple of guys kind of coming up for Hall of Fame selection. Our channel here is kind of based Hall of Fame related here.
Yeah.
Chase Utley. He kind of made the cut last year. He's still on the ballot going forward this year. He had about 28% of the ballot. Do you see him as a Hall of Famer from your days watching the Phillies, being around baseball, compared to other players of his era?
I mean, Chase Utley and Jimmy Rollins were my two favorite Phillies baseball players growing up. So I'm a little biased to that. Cole Hamels as well as the left-handed pitcher. I'm a right-handed outfielder, but loved Cole Hamels. When I try to look at comparatively with stats and second basemen that have gotten in of all time, and then guys who are getting in, over a certain era, because Chase Utley doesn't have over 400 home runs, and Chase Utley, was around, a 280, 290 hitter all time. He had an incredible prime, but it was one that, he started when he was 24 and ended when he was 31. So when you look at Hall of Fame players, you're looking for a prolonged elite success. And Chase had elite success. He was probably the second or first best second baseman in all of baseball for 2 or 3 years, but I'm not sure that gets you to the Hall of Fame. Is he a Hall of Famer in my book? Yes, but if you're looking at it in the grand scope of things, I don't know if he has the numbers to get in.
Yeah, seeing that Jeff Kent struggled to get there and play in the same position, kind of the same era. It seems like he may have a tough road ahead of him. I personally, I think he's probably one of the best of his era. Whether he's one of the best of all time is, probably not with Joe Morgan out there. But I think it's gonna be a fun watch as he comes up there and see how much he can increase his share over time here.
Well, I mean, and part of it was just his worth to the Phillies organization, pulling him up from the depths of the National League East. I mean, they were really bad when he and Jimmy Rollins joined, and then, obviously coming back in 2007, 7.5 games, 17 to play, and winning the division over the Mets, and then winning the World Series the next year and going to the World Series a year after that. I mean, his prime is Hall of Fame, but you need a Hall of Fame career to get to the Hall of Fame, not a Hall of Fame prime. So, to me, I'm a little bit biased, but if you're looking at the broad scope of the statistics, he doesn't have anything that really sticks out as Hall of Fame worthy aside from his WAR. His WAR is aligned with second basemen who have gotten into the Hall of Fame over the course of their career.
Is there a stat that you find that might be overblown somewhat or not appreciated enough? I mean, I look back personally to myself, thinking like I'm 51, which is depressing, but and I wonder, in the 80s, how do we never not figure out OPS? How do we never figure this out as a stat? But is there something now that as we're so stat driven, is there something that maybe we're relying too much or we're not focusing on enough?
No, I just don't think that we're opening our minds enough. I think that different stats are important for different parts of the order. You're the leadoff hitter. I'm looking at your on base percentage. I don't really care about your slugging percentage. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking about your 3-hole hitter. Yeah, I do care about RBIs because you're there to drive in runs. And people are like, oh, RBI is a situational stat. Only depends on people are in front of you. You can't really control that. you have a completely different mentality when guys are on base. And if you're hitting in the 3-hole, the 4-hole, the 5-hole, your expectations are to drive and run. So you're darn right that RBI is an important stat for the 3-hole, 4-hitter, and 5-hitter. If you're a 4-hole hitter, yeah, I want to talk about your slugging percentage. I'm talking about your OPS. I want to know your ability to get on base and drive the baseball. So yeah, I think that we're a little bit too rigid with our statistics, saying like, batting average doesn't matter, RBIs doesn't matter. Well, in some parts of the order, it most certainly does. You're a leadoff hitter. I want you hitting 300. Because if you're hitting 300, it means you're probably getting on base more.
Phillies have Kyle Schwarber. I do not understand that as the leadoff hitter. What am I missing?
It's on base, draws walks.
Okay,
Wouldn't be my leadoff hitter. He wouldn't be my leadoff
Okay,
hitter,
yeah.
but he draws walks.
I
mean,
like
if
Kyle
you're
Schwarber. I just want to be clear, but I don't understand him in that role. Having said
No,
that,
but if you're-
Philadelphia is Philadelphia and they're doing so well. But anyway,
They are, but if your prerogative for your organization is for your 1-hole, 2-hole hitter to get on base, I don't really care what your batting average is. If you're drawing 24% walks and you're getting on base or hitting home runs 34, 35% of the time, that's a big deal.
another stat that sort of like really sort of exploded, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around that. Maybe I'm just a little old and old school, but maybe both of you can sort of like educate me on this one. I never even thought about exit velocity 4 or 5 years ago. Like if a home run sort of like Justin Turner got a home run in a couple games ago. I was like, oh, it's the weakest one they've ever gotten in terms of exit velocity. It's a home run. I don't care.
I like exit velo. It just shows if you hit the ball hard.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty cool seeing like John Kenzie Noel, who plays for Columbus. We're playing Columbus right now. Hit a ball 118.4 miles per hour. The other day, it was a double that hit off the wall in left center. I just think that that's really cool. Just seeing how elite that is and how that is comparatively to the guys in the big leagues like Shohei Ohtani and Giancarlo Stanton who had 119 mile per hour home run. So I think it's a nice, fun litmus test to the talent that you see in the minor league baseball and how they compare to guys that are playing at the highest level.
Okay, cool. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for being a part of this, taking time out of your colossally busy schedule and doing everything that you do. Chris, thank you so much for setting this up. I'm sort of glad that the two of you became friends so that you can be a part of this. I would love to have you as part of this again if you're ever, well, maybe off baseball season when you got a little bit more time. Maybe
anytime,
yeah,
anytime that you want to have me on, I'm happy to talk baseball. I'm never too busy to talk shop. So,
well, thank you so much. So wherever you are, wherever you may be, make this a fantastic day because unless the time traveler people are right from Back to the Future, this day doesn't come again. Take care.